All right, so next game we have the Green Bay Packers versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Packers coming off the bye week. I'm hoping Davante Adams is back. I assume he will be.
I assume he will be as well.
Chris Godwin perpetually injured for Tampa Bay. He basically the Tampa Bay's offense needs Godwin back. It would be nice if they have Fournette back. But what I like about this game is that Green Bay and Tampa Bay are both like one of about, I think, 6 teams, maybe 8 teams right now that are showing me that they can win the game defensive, or they can win a game defensively, or they can win a game offensively, which means they're two-dimensional. They can make teams one-dimensional on the other side of the football, on the defensive side of the football, and they can both run the ball, which to me means that they can both make deep playoff runs and be Super Bowl threats. And they also have quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls, which is a big thing for me as well. So what do you think? I mean, you saw Tampa Bay on Thursday night. You saw Tom Brady make, the whole 5th down thing. He thought it was 3rd down and it was 4th down. He completed
That
a bet.
was odd, wasn't it?
It
Wasn't
was
that the most bizarre thing? It's so surprising.
A little embarrassing.
Yeah, and then he went to the sideline and started barking at people. Right? Like it wasn't his fault or something.
Like an old man sending soup back at a deli, right?
Yeah, he was all bitter and crispy about it, man. That was the weirdest part.
Who didn't tell me it was? Somebody told me it was 3rd down. Nah, it was embarrassing.
It was embarrassing. This is actually I think this is a bigger matchup than people are giving it credit. And this is why, because even though the Bucs have do they have 2 losses now? Yes, they have 2 losses.
Yeah.
But does anybody doubt that they're going to be a completely different team 6-8 weeks from now?
Right.
Like a much, much better, more improved, more buttoned up team. So this game has a lot of playoff implications.
I mean, Tampa Bay, you lose Fournette, who I think is the better of the running backs. I know Ronald Jones, I see his stats, but I just don't see it. He doesn't impress me.
Aaron Jones doesn't impress you?
No, I meant Ronald Jones, not Aaron Jones. If I said Aaron, I apologize. Ronald Jones for Tampa Bay. So Fournette goes down. Godwin, who is their key cog as a wide receiver, goes down. Scotty Miller is down with injury. O.J. Howard is down with injury. And so, like, Tampa Bay's been kind of playing like a second team.
Yeah, they're a little beat up.
And
let me just say this. Let me pose this question real quick. Is it possible, and I'll probably jinx myself for this game, but is it possible that Gronkowski is just not the same guy he was 2 years ago?
I think it's likely.
I mean, what has he done, really? I mean, I saw him in one – he caught one ball and it went for like 22 yards, and that's been in 5 games he's done that. So I don't know what's going on with that.
It's kind of weird. But, when Brady needs yardage, he will still look for Gronkowski. And because O.J. Howard's hurt, I feel like Gronkowski is going to be a bigger part of the offense, but he's just fine throwing it to Cameron Brate. And Mike Evans isn't separating as much as he used to back when he had Jameis Winston. He looks old all of a sudden. It's kind of weird.
Right. They look a little old on offense. It's weird.
But they're still putting up points.
Right. They look like a little slow or something.
That's it. They look slow.
They look slow. They do. There's not, when you watch the Packers and when you watch the Chiefs, and a few other teams, the Raiders even, guys are flying, man. And it's fast and it's exciting, but the Bucs look stale.
Yeah, I agree with that. With that.
Maybe it's just a side effect or a consequence of being only 5 games together in the system. That could be it, man.
That could be.
I'm not about to sit here and be an idiot and say that Brady's lost it and he's holding the team back.
No, yeah.
Like maybe I would for New Orleans. But that's another conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, they have potential. I'm not worried about it. And look, the Bears' loss was not a surprise to me. I think everybody's been overlooking, in spite of the Bears being 3-1 as well going into that game. Everybody just thinks it was fluky. And and again, it's the fantasy football thing to me, is everybody looks to offense. Like, where are the stars on offense that I can start on my fantasy football team? Oh, you don't really have one? Then you must be a bad team.
Shiny. Sure, the offense is shiny and it's super appealing.
But, we've been saying, Chicago's defense is legit. Tampa Bay's defense is legit. So a low-scoring game, that's what I was expecting. And I actually think I took Chicago to cover the spread last week as well.
You know what's funny about Chicago is they haven't had a good quarterback in quite a long time, somebody that really draws your attention. And so we may lose sight of the fact that they are always a buttoned-up organization. right?
Yeah.
They're never Detroit. They're never Detroit, right? They're always kind of pretty solid in like a Baltimore type way, right?
Yeah.
But they've been so terrible at quarterback.
You're right. You're right. And I did, by the way, I did take Tampa Bay, so I missed the pick last week. But again, I wasn't super surprised by the thing.
Yeah. Let me say this about Chicago, right? Justin Herbert, right? He's the reason why you start Tua in Miami. He's the reason why when you see Trubisky after 3 years being turd biscuit, you say sayonara. And you go get somebody else because they are out there in droves.
They are, man. They are. Justin Herbert looked fantastic on Monday Night Football.
You know what it is, man, is that for until about 5 years ago, you didn't really have to be an athlete in order to be a quarterback. I mean, let's look at Peyton Manning, and Eli Manning, and even Tom Brady. I mean, these aren't athletic men. Look, they're far more athletic than you and I.
Oh, yes.
But, Of course, right?
Well, they can spend $1 million a year in their body. I'd be a lot more athletic, too, if I could,
Well, that's a good point.
But yes, yeah.
But the athletes such as Vic and Cunningham and, players like that, those were the outliers for such a long time. And now it's like, you're not playing at a high level unless you can move like Patrick Mahomes. Right? So, I mean, this guy Herbert's showing us that, and I think that the talent coming out of the college programs is just find the guy. Go find the guy.
That's why this year's NFL draft is going to be super interesting because everybody's talking about Trevor Lawrence. He's the best prospect since Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck obviously had his issues and his injuries and all that stuff. But Andrew Luck, if people remember, was the best prospect since John Elway, right? We're talking about like once a decade talent at quarterback. But who's going to finish with the number 1 overall pick this year? You're looking at the Jets, who have Sam Darnold. They'll fire their head coaching staff. Are they going to want to start fresh? Right, I mean, they have talent there. So what do you do with Darnold? Do you trade him for a pick to somebody else?
It would behoove the Giants to finish last. And actually the Jets to finish second to last. That way they don't have to maybe face that dilemma.
Yeah.
They could build around Darnold and nobody would question it.
Yeah, and I mean it's really weird. Atlanta's bad, but I don't think they're bad enough to finish the worst in the league.
True.
Because their offense can score points. And I think Atlanta, their coaching was awful this year. For some reason, they tried to they're built to be a finesse passing team, and then this year they're like, oh, we're going to be a power running ball control team and win the game on defense. It's like you're literally doing everything you're bad at. That's your strategy. I mean, it was a nightmare from week 1. They should have just gone out passing the ball around the field like they had been for the last 3 years. But anyway, back to this game. Green Bay, Tampa Bay, yes, they look slow. When Godwin comes back, maybe they'll look faster. Green Bay, on the other hand, talking about Tampa Bay losing Godwin and the impact it's having on this offense, Green Bay loses Davante Adams, and I'm just like, that's the only guy that Aaron Rodgers has been thrown to for like 3 years. What's going to happen? You get Allen Lazard before he goes on IR, go nuts. He goes on IR. Valdez-Scantling gets some targets, but then Robert Tonyan goes nuts at tight end.
Nuts.
Absolutely nuts. This is a team, and again, I got to say, because I wasn't sure about Matt LaFleur, but the next step in this offense has been really impressive to watch. Because what do we know about LaFleur? He was the offensive coordinator, had a nice successful run, but only 1 year at Tennessee. Gets a job, and you're like, is this guy really qualified? I don't know. Has a nice year. I mean, to go to the NFC Championship game, overachieve, but it was kind of like a boring, kind of mundane offense last year. It was thud.
It didn't look that great. It didn't look great. No.
This year, Aaron Rodgers looks like vintage Aaron Rodgers.
Lights out.
And they can run the ball.
Right.
And they can spread the ball around. This might be the best offense they've had since their Super Bowl years.
Aaron Rodgers is throwing guys open. Matt LaFleur is scheming guys open.
That's a big deal.
That's a big difference because
and you haven't seen that in years. People being schemed open.
McCarthy, the scheme was terrible. Nobody was ever open, and he was still depending on Aaron to throw guys open constantly. Mm-hmm. And that's like 2010 football. That's not McVay football. That's not the
You're right.
Shanahan and San Fran. Right. That's an old school thing, man. You got to have both these days. Otherwise, you're super limited. The standard for a top 10 offense should be scoring 30.
Yeah, right.
Right? Mm-hmm. Whereas back in the day, if you scored maybe 24 consistently, you were top 5. I don't know. I'm just hypothesizing,
yeah.
But it's been electric, man. And they go with the run when they need to. They go with the and big passing plays, man. Even without Davante.
Yeah, it's
been something else. So maybe, just maybe, the past few years that Aaron hasn't had his, blow up MVP numbers, maybe it was McCarthy. Because remember, we'd hear those stories about Aaron rolling his eyes every time he got a play call, right?
Right.
So, and everybody wanted to point to him and say he was being snarky, and maybe he was. But who knows? Maybe all this time it actually was McCarthy.
Yeah, who knows? And
it's the only argument you can make at this point.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Let me hit you with the line in this one. Green Bay -2.5 versus Tampa Bay. Who do you got? Whoa, hold on. Let me see. Let me double. Okay, yeah. Bovada has Green Bay -2.5 versus Tampa Bay.
I'm going to go with Green Bay. I think they're playing much better. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they went into Tampa and had a difficult time, but I haven't seen anything from Green Bay to this point, which makes me think they're not going to score 40.
Yeah. It's hard to go against Green Bay, especially with that within a field goal. I think I'm going to stay away because Tampa Bay awful loss. I don't love it, and Tampa Bay should be getting healthier too. I'll wait. I mean, if Godwin's out, I think it's a Green Bay win. Really curious to see how Davante, are they going to still distribute the ball to Tonyan and Valdez-Scantling and all these things? I think they will. I think
they will too.
I think this has been good for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, me too.
That they can be as dominant offensively without Davante Adams.
One thing we haven't talked about is Aaron Jones catching passes out of the backfield.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is as good as it gets doing that. So I think they have I don't think they have to focus on Davante. In the past 2 years, in 6 games without Davante, they're 6-0.
Yeah.
It's a trippy stat.
More distribution, I guess. All right, let's move it on to the next one. We got the